At its peak, the Ottoman Empire ruled over 3 continents, controlled the most valuable trade routes on Earth, and lasted longer than the Roman Empire. But here's the shocking part. It wasn't built by emperors born into power. It began with a nameless tribe, living in tents, hunted by stronger enemies. So how did a forgotten people rise to dominate Europe, Asia, and Africa? How did they conquer Constantinople, an unbreakable city that had survived for 1,000 years? And how did one of history's greatest empires disappear? Almost overnight. The answers reveal a story of ambition, brutality, innovation, and secrets most textbooks skip. And this is the rise and fall of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire shaped the modern world more than most people realize. Borders, religions, languages, even global politics. For over 600 years, the Ottomans controlled the bridge between East and West. They decided who traded, who traveled, and who ruled. Kings feared them. Popes warned against them. Europe watched them like an approaching storm. But power like this doesn't appear by accident. It's forged, tested, and eventually destroyed. And the deeper you go into this empire's story, the darker and more fascinating it becomes. Because the Ottomans didn't just conquer lands. They reinvented warfare, governance, and empire itself. But that's not the craziest part. The story begins in the late 1200s. Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, was chaos. The Mongols had shattered empires. Crusaders burned cities. Tribes fought for scraps of land. Among them was a tiny Turkic clan led by a warrior named Osman. No kingdom, no riches, no army worth mentioning. Just horses, swords, and a belief that destiny favored the bold. Osman didn't inherit power. He took it piece by piece. He attacked weakened Byzantine towns, absorbed rival tribes, rewarded loyalty with land, and most importantly, he welcomed anyone willing to fight. Christians, Muslims, nomads, mercenaries. If you were useful, you belonged. This flexibility made Osman dangerous. While others fought over religion and tradition, Osman built a war machine fueled by opportunity. By the time he died, his name had become something else, not just a leader, a symbol, the Ottomans. But this small frontier state was about to do something no one thought possible. The Ottomans expanded fast, terrifyingly fast. Why? Because they mastered 3 things their enemies underestimated: speed, discipline, fear. Ottoman armies moved quickly, striking before defenses were ready. They used light cavalry to terrorize borders and heavy infantry to crush resistance. But their greatest weapon wasn't steel. It was psychological warfare. Cities were given a choice: surrender peacefully, or resist and face destruction. Those who surrendered kept their homes, religion, and lives. Those who didn't became examples. Word spread fast, resistance dropped, but the Ottomans didn't just conquer. They organized, they divided land efficiently, collected taxes without chaos, allowed religious freedom under strict control. Christians paid taxes, Jews found safety, Muslims gained status. It wasn't tolerance out of kindness. It was control through stability, and it worked. By the 1400s, the Ottomans were no longer a regional power. They were an empire standing at the gates of history's most legendary city, Constantinople. But that city had never fallen until now. Constantinople was the ultimate prize, protected by massive walls, guarded by the sea, blessed by centuries of failed sieges. Rome couldn't take it. Arab armies failed. Crusaders only succeeded through betrayal. Everyone believed the city was invincible, except one man, Mehmed II. He was just 21 years old, educated, obsessed, ruthless, and he wanted Constantinople at any cost. Mehmed studied the city's defenses. Then he did something revolutionary. He brought giant cannons, cannons so large they shook the earth, cannons that could shatter walls built to last forever. For weeks, the Ottomans bombarded the city. Defenders prayed, walls cracked. On May 29, 1453, the impossible happened. Constantinople fell. The shock echoed across the world. The Middle Ages ended, a new era began. And Constantinople became Istanbul, the heart of the Ottoman Empire. But conquest was only the beginning. What the Ottomans built next would terrify Europe for centuries. The Ottoman ruler wasn't called king. He was the sultan, military commander, religious authority, and absolute ruler. And no one embodied this power more than Suleiman the Magnificent. Under Suleiman, the empire exploded. Hungary fell. The Balkans submitted. North Africa bowed. The Mediterranean trembled. Ottoman ships challenged Europe at sea. Ottoman armies stood outside Vienna. But Suleiman wasn't just a conqueror, he was a lawmaker. He standardized laws across the empire, protected trade, funded architecture, art, and science. Mosques rose like monuments to power. Cities flourished from the outside. The Ottoman Empire looked unstoppable, but inside its palace, a brutal system ensured control. Because to rule the empire, a sultan had to survive his own family. Ottoman succession was ruthless. There was no next in line. When a sultan died, his sons raced for power. And the winner did something unthinkable. He executed his brothers, strangled, poisoned, and eliminated. This wasn't cruelty for cruelty's sake, it was policy. The Ottomans believed civil war was worse than murder. One death was better than thousands. Later, this evolved into something darker. Princes were locked inside palace cages called the kafes, isolated for years, driven mad by fear. Some emerged unfit to rule, others never emerged at all. This system kept the empire stable, but it also planted the seeds of decay. Because power without challenge eventually rots. And while the Ottomans ruled land and sea, the world around them was changing fast. For centuries, the Ottomans were ahead. Gunpowder, cannons, military organization. But Europe adapted, faster ships, new weapons, industrialization. While Europe innovated, the Ottomans hesitated. Tradition became resistance to change. Corruption crept into administration. The once feared janissaries became political manipulators. Revolts spread, territories slipped away, and then came the nickname. The sick man of Europe. Once invincible, now struggling to survive. The empire tried reforms, Western-style laws, modern armies, but it was too late. The final blow came not from one enemy, but from a world war. World War I shattered the Ottomans. They chose the wrong allies, fought on too many fronts, lost everything, and Arab lands rebelled. European powers carved territories. Istanbul was occupied. In 1922, the unthinkable happened. The Ottoman Sultanate was abolished. No final battle, no glorious end, just silence. An empire that ruled for 6 centuries vanished. From its ashes rose modern Turkey, borders redrawn, history rewritten. But the Ottoman legacy didn't disappear. It still lives in architecture, in culture, in global politics. The Ottoman Empire proves one truth. Power isn't lost in a single moment. It fades through arrogance, hesitation, and fear of change. From a nameless tribe to a world-dominating superpower. From unstoppable conquerors to forgotten rulers. The Ottomans didn't fall because they were weak. They fell because the world evolved. And they didn't evolve fast enough.